How to impress a girl on the first date. In this video, we'll learn some simple ideas and linguistic strategies to make sure you get a second date. A couple of these ideas are inspired by Dale Carnegie's famous book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Simply stated, if you want to be an interesting person, you must be interested in the other person. That's the most important rule to keep in your head as you go out on your first date. Demonstrate your interest in her. Don't worry too much about trying to impress her with your stats. Because this is a first date, look for any opportunities to move the conversation in the direction of things she likes to imagine about her future. For example, if you talk about her job the way she has it now, that's pretty risky. Most people hate their jobs. So instead, talk about the kind of job she'd like to have in the future. You can use something called the magic wand question. If you had a magic wand and you could create the ideal future and you could have the ideal job, assuming all the education and training had been taken care of, what would that ideal job look like? Everybody likes to dream about the future. Most people don't get very excited talking about our boring day-to-day lives. So point her mind in the direction of a fantasy future. This is a good first step. But most people don't have a very detailed image in their mind of their ideal fantasy future. So help her talk about it. Ask some very easy binary either-or questions about her fantasy future. Is it like your current job or is it different? Do you work mostly in an office or do you work somewhere else? Are you a public figure or not? Keep in mind, you are not helping her plan her actual career. You are only asking easy and enjoyable to answer questions about a fantasy future. And the only reason for doing this is to create very good feelings during that important first extended conversation. Also consider following the 80-20 rule. You let her talk 80% of the time and you talk 20% of the time. What should you talk about? Talk about whatever pops into your head while you're listening to her talk about any fantasy future. Things that her fantasy future reminds you of in your mind. Ideally, look for anything that will create a feeling of similarity. Something about you that is similar to something she just said. Of course, you don't have to talk about ideal future jobs, but try to steer the conversation towards something in the future that's enjoyable to talk about. Ideal vacation, ideal way to become famous, ideal house to live in, ideal whatever. You must be willing to shoulder the burden of keeping the conversation going. Of course, it's common for there to be lulls in the conversation. That's normal. But you don't have to get anxious when those lulls in the conversation show up. Just ask easy to answer, open-ended questions about easy to talk about things. Jobs, hobbies, friends, recent vacations, music she likes, movies she likes, whatever. And always be on the lookout for any conversational topic that you can use as a pivot toward those ideal future ideas. Be playful, be creative, have fun. You aren't going to get into any trouble for asking goofy questions. The only reason for these types of conversational strategies is to have something enjoyable to talk about, to create good feelings. The best part is you can practice this with your friends. And with your friends, you don't have to be sly or try to covertly manage the conversation. You could just come out with a question. Okay, dude, check this out. You have an ideal house 5 years in the future. What's it like? And then start firing away with the either or questions. 2-story, 1-story. Near the beach, not near the beach. AI controlled or old school. Another tip is to give them plenty of time to think about and enjoy thinking about their answers to your either or questions. Don't be in a rush. Try to imagine the picture they are creating by answering your questions. And try to ask easy to answer either or questions that will make that picture in your mind become more and more vivid and more detailed. Use that internal image to help you figure out what questions to ask next. Granted, this is a skill that will take practice, but it will make you a very enjoyable conversationalist. The more you practice this, the better you'll get. The better you get, the more you can use this on strangers and make them feel fantastic. The more you do this, the more dates, second dates, third dates with more people that you'll be able to enjoy. Thanks for watching. To stay in the loop, please subscribe, like, and comment. To learn more, please visit mindpersuasion.com.